No. Two Girls, One Ghost. Two Girls, One Ghost. Their Encounters episode this week. I saw like a clip on socials, but I only like listened to it audio wise. But I think they made the basement at Corinne's house, I think, into like a witchy cabin, and they're like really full on doing some sort of bit about like, oh, you've entered our lair during dinner and we're eating like brains or something. I was like, all right,
okay, so next time we record I'll have like spider webs and like we'll spookify.
Make it spooky.
Today is our spooky episode.
We're doing a spooky one. I think we potentially will do another one. We'll see, depending on your book.
I have to read the books.
But I also have a backup of another idea potentially that could be spooky-esque. I don't know. We'll see. If we have time, I'll briefly bring it up and we can have an idea.
Okay.
Maybe. But yeah, we talked about
Hi,
a while
welcome
ago.
to the Music Lunch Podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee. Usually I'm the one who's like, hey, remember to do that.
I know. I was like, wait, let me do it really fast.
Yeah, we talked a while ago of like, oh, in October we can do like a ghost episode and spooky season. So that's what we're doing today.
Related to music.
Related to music. Yes. I know we talked about wanting to do like a Ryman ghost tour and then talk about that on this episode. I tried to find one. It's like not popping up at all for anything this year.
They don't always do them.
Okay.
And when they do, they release them only at like certain times. So like you just kind of have to watch to see if it's going
like,
to
nothing's
be
being
thing.
advertised for this year for like October. There was like one random one for like
fast too
in July, and I'm like, well, that happened already, so we can't do that. But Sammy K and I played in Huntsville last night at Green Bus Brewing, and that area is very cute, like historical type-esque area of the town, and there's like A-frames on the corners that said Huntsville Ghost Walk, and there was like 3 or 4 different ghost walking tours happening when we parked, and we were there really early. So we were like, let's just walk around a little bit to kill time. And we passed some of the groups, and I'm just like, what happens if we just like join them? Like, are we allowed to do that? Because I know people pay for them.
They will yell at you, yes, eventually.
So I'm just like, what's happening? Like, it's kind of near a church, and so one group was in front of that church, and not all the guides had costumes, but this one had like an old-timey dress on, so that was cool. Nice. But I'm like, is there a ghost in that church?
I really want to do a Halloween photo shoot of some sort. So like one of my coworkers does like an annual one, and like they theme it. So like one year she did like Friday the 13th with Jason, and then like one year she did Mike Myers, and then like one year she did it. I forget which one she did this year, but like she went to a little town in Indiana with her photographer friend, and they like take pictures, and like she like dresses the whole part. So
and there's also like this older looking building across the way, and we were playing outside, and there was one of the windows had a lamp in it that was on, and I'm like, is there someone in there, or is this like a Walt Disney situation where like a ghost turned the light on? Because I've never seen people in that building before, so it was like, this a little spooky here. But yeah, that was fun just to see all the spooky stuff happening. And I feel
that's
like
why we're wearing spooky sweatshirts.
Get a crowd.
Today.
Yeah.
Spooky
ghosties and skeletons. I don't know how I'd feel about doing a walking tour, honestly. Like in Nashville, I feel like the Huntsville one would be fun because we're not from there. And
they have a bus one, because one year Braden and I almost did it, and it's like the like trolley type things, but like a ghost one around Nashville, and you like hop out at certain places.
What's the point of standing outside of buildings and talking about them when you can do that anytime and just do your own research? Like, I want to go inside and actually like experience like the haunted place and not just like look at it from the outside that you can do any day, especially like the Ryman and stuff like that. I'm like, why?
I don't know. They do them in Louisiana a lot. I know that.
Yeah, I think
in like New Orleans
they've talked
area.
about them on Two Girls, One Ghost too.
Lately, I've been into the Haunted Objects podcast, if you know what that one is.
Who is that?
It's Dana and
Greg and Dana.
Yes.
Okay, so they had them on one episode.
Yeah.
So I've heard of it through them.
Their podcast is so interesting. I am like hooked. It's like even the episodes where I like knew a lot about because I've heard them on other podcasts or like things like about like debit boxes or whatever they're called.
The book.
Yeah, the book boxes.
Yeah.
Like they go into the whole history of how like they're not even real and like they're all
one
fake.
Post Malone
and,
touched.
Yeah, but it's all fake.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that he got cursed by. But like listen to their podcast. Their podcast, if you want a fun, spooky one that like actually goes into like fun history of like and like they do so much research and then they have like actual objects and like
yeah, they like
it's so cool.
Own stuff and do they have a museum too?
Yes, it's the Haunted Podcast, Haunted Objects Museum podcast.
Yeah, so they're
and it's in Ohio.
Great. Okay.
I did not know that.
A lot of spooky
they also
stuff.
Thought that Post Malone was from Ohio, but he's from Texas. So.
Interesting.
Sorry to correct another podcast on our podcast, but he's from Texas.
He's from Texas. Yeah.
But like they did a whole episode with Jeff Goldblum and Bigfoot hunting. Like it's the coolest
awesome.
podcast. It's the coolest podcast.
Oh yeah, I think that's when they interviewed them. When Two Girls One Ghost interviewed them, like I think they asked like favorite episode or something like that or favorite experience, and they mentioned him as their favorite because that's just like someone from a completely different walk of life coming into this like cryptid sphere of talking about Bigfoot. So
yeah, Katie and I, well, I don't know about how much Katie does, but I for sure have like at least 5 different like conspiracy and or ghost related shows going on at once though.
I just have Two Girls One Ghost, but I probably need to pick a new podcast because I caught up with them. So now it's like, what do I listen to when I'm like done with the weekly ones?
It's so good. Like I said, even like the episodes that I'm like, oh, I already know so much about. Like, no, I found myself like learning so much I didn't know. Like the fact that like even Two Girls One Ghost doesn't talk about the fact that they're not a real box. Like it was a thing in 2000. Okay. This guy posted about it on eBay and like he made the whole thing up. Yeah. Okay. And then like the boxes got haunted because like it's like that fear energy that it's feeding off of. Like everyone put that into it and then it became something. But the second that like people were like, no, it's all fake. Like it stopped.
Interesting.
Isn't it? It's so interesting.
Do we flip?
But yes. Okay. But I'm also like having existential crises, like not crises, but like I'm like really evaluating life and like what is it, and it's like I'm like completely, because I am such like a oh my god spooky things, oh my gosh I'm terrified of it all, like I believe in ghosts, I believe in all this stuff, but now I'm like how much of it is just like us putting our own fear into it, and it's like, but in a fun way it's like kind of unlifted that veil of like it's like not all scary. So maybe I could go through a haunted house now.
Yay!
Like I'm like, and
Game Terminal has one this year and it's only like $10 compared to Nashville Nightmares like 30 something.
I know,
so
I want to do
that one.
And then I was like maybe, but also I'm like trying to figure out, because like I've also like done a lot of like, oh we're in the simulation thing, and like my brain just like I have a lot of opinions about it, but like now so I'm like trying to like, what is life? Is that where I feel like I am, but like in a fun, not like scary way.
Right. Yeah. So basically,
my brain has absorbed a lot of information lately.
A ghost episode, it's gonna be very woo-woo. So if you're the type who's like likes to, I don't know, think
this is a fun episode.
It's supposed to be fun. Don't take it seriously. If you don't believe stuff, that's fine. But like, if you want to hate on people for believing or for having fun with like more like woo-woo ghost type stuff, then maybe this isn't the episode for you. Join us back next week. But I have a lot, so we probably should start. So I wanted to, for the most part, focus on music, obviously, because it is a music podcast.
Well, kind of like a music podcast, if you don't know.
What was that?
I don't know.
When we talked about the ghost idea, or like ghost episode idea, we did mention Belmont, so I was like, let's start with Belmont Mansion and then we'll go into more specific music stuff, but that's still like music-esque because Music City and it's a music school, so we're gonna make it work. It's fine. And so I will have to put all the sources in for all this fun stuff, but I found a website that kind of like laid out the story with the Belmont Mansion and Adelicia. who is the one whose home it originally was. So, to escape the heat of Louisiana in the summer, this summer home, Belmont, which is an Italianate style 36 room, 19,000 square foot villa, was created to be a work of art to be enjoyed by the family and others. It was surrounded by lovely, well-landscaped gardens. Besides the huge mansion and glorious gardens, this estate included an art gallery, conservatories, aviary, lake, and zoo. I don't know where the lake would have been, but...
It's actually a great point. I don't know where the lake... Maybe that's what the lawn actually is and why Bobby Fish was like, don't go on it, because we're all going to sink into the lake.
Starting a new conspiracy.
No.
The grounds later became Belmont College for Women. Then it turned co-ed in 1951 and went from being a college to a university in 1991. Adelicia Hayes Franklin Ackland Cheatham may have been wealthy and lived a life enjoying doing productive activities, giving to others, and experiencing the finer things of life, but she had to endure a lot of personal losses in her lifetime, yet carried on bravely. So she was born into a wealthy Nashville family in 1817, and as a young woman, her teenage fiancé died before he could marry her. Her first marriage was to a wealthy older man, Isaac Franklin, with whom she had 4 children, all who died before they were 12. Isaac died after only 7 years into the marriage. In 1849, Adelicia fell in love and married a young lawyer, Joseph Ackland. After building, furnishing, and landscaping their dream villa, Belmont, and its grand estate, Adelicia and Joseph settled down and had 6 children. Tragedy struck again when her twin daughters died of scarlet fever, and her second husband was killed in the Civil War.
This woman had 10 children birthed out of her.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
what you took from that. In 1887, she sold her beloved Belmont, moved to Washington, D.C. to live. She died later that same year, but she was buried in Nashville.
Oh, I was going to say, wait, I thought she died in her house, and that's why it's haunted. Oh, okay.
Adelicia in her lifetime lost a fiance, 2 husbands, and 6 children. And so, hang on. She also sold her most beloved summer home, Belmont, with the plan that her college would continue being financed by her endowment. I apparently put stuff twice. It's fine. Because I already said part of that. So she obviously had a lot of like tragedy in her life, and so she can't quite rest in peace, and so her apparition has been seen at Belmont on campus and also the Belmont mansion itself.
People see her on campus?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Adelicia can't quite rest in peace has set off motion detectors in Belmont and its buildings at night. So it says buildings, so I would assume like not just in the mansion.
Well, because I think the mansion does connect to the business building. And
yeah, probably.
And the business building connects to the nursing building. And
there's a lot of connections. She feels the urge to supervise the living and keep watch concerning her Belmont.
I do know that. Oh, I think one of the dorms across the street is actually haunted too.
That's right. One of the older ones, I think.
Because she likes to make sure you're following the rules of Belmont.
I can't think of what the name is, but it's like one of the older ones.
Yeah.
The full apparition of Adelicia, attired in a 1800 style antebellum gown, has been seen by the security guards, students, and museum staff floating around many parts of the villa, going about her business, checking up on the living, making sure things are in place and are being taken care of properly. The living have come face to face with the entity of Adelicia. It was reported that a woman was walking down a hallway one evening during an event, and who should she see face to face but the apparition of Adelicia dressed in an elegant evening gown. Oh. The website put "yikes" in capital letters. I just thought that was funny. It was reported Adelicia appeared as a full, solid form and told a museum guide that the furniture in one of the bedrooms were not arranged correctly. Oh. So she wants things the way that she wants them.
Yes.
And will tell you if they're wrong. And I found it interesting that they said they actually had a psychic come to investigate.
Oh.
And so the psychic reported, she is still hurting from the loss of so many children. Adelicia is missing her children and is looking for the ones who had died so long ago. Adelicia was worried Belmont would be torn down soon because the present Belmont University is growing so fast and the buildings are being renovated and new ones are being built. So with all of, like, there's growing so much.
Well, and I know the mansion itself is also getting renovated.
Yeah, and that's a thing that I've learned listening to Two Girls, One Ghost of, like, when things get renovated, that sometimes will stir up activity because the ghosts are like, what are you doing? Why are you changing my home?
Yeah.
Because they're not fully understanding that it's not their home anymore. But yeah, so that is at Alicia and the Belmont Mansion. I know I was talking to Sammy K about this episode last night, and she's done a tour before there, and she says the vibes are definitely a little spooky. So yeah. I haven't actually done one, but I know when we did the photo shoot outside of it, I was like looking in the windows like, is there a ghost?
Yeah.
So next I did the Ryman because obviously we wanted to tour there and didn't get to. So the first one is the ghost of Thomas Ryman. So after Captain Thomas Ryman passed away in 1904, his Union Gospel Tabernacle was renamed Ryman Auditorium in his honor. Contrary to his wishes, however, the space began to be used for plays and live music shows. This activity must have stirred up Ryman's ghost, as he began making appearances of his own in the auditorium. It was right, it just seemed weird. Ryman's spirit was fine with most performances, but would rise if the people on stage were getting a bit risque. Ooh. Apparently, he disrupted shows by stomping around the room so loudly that spectators were forced to leave. Oh. Famously, the ghost wreaked havoc while the opera Carmen was taking place, probably because it tells the story of a gypsy temptress. So, it was this, like, holy church place originally, and he doesn't like that it's, like, been modernized, I guess. And then there's a curse. Have you heard of the Opry curse?
Yes.
You have? I've never heard of it before. Is it because you worked there that you've heard of it? Okay. So from 1943 to 1974, the Ryman Auditorium was home to the Grand Ole Opry, and the Opry curse is a legend that has been around since 1970. During this time, rumors surfaced the venue was cursed because people associated with the Opry have died tragic and untimely deaths, and it's believed there are over 35 people who have fallen victim to the curse, dying from ODs, car accidents, plane crashes, fires, or slaughterings. The plane crashes, such as like taking the lives of Patsy Cline and Jim Reeves, and Stringbean Aikman was murdered. Another popular death surrounding the building is the death of Texas Ruby Fox in a fire in a car crash that killed Ira Leuven. Eventually, the Opry found another home, but this didn't stop the curse. It's believed the curse followed because a large portion of the Ryman stage was cut out and brought to the new location, which is, of course, the sacred circle.
Yeah.
And I think of Dottie West, like when you go to the Opry or even just the Opry Mills Mall, that exit that you take, you see the cross for Dottie because she got into an accident on her way to perform at the Opry. So that's another one that wasn't included, but I think of that of like maybe that's part of the curse too.
The circle that was cut out of the Ryman stage used to be different. I think they've redone the floors, but like you can see because like it was in the backstage left, and it was a different color wood. Oh, like you could like tell that it was like, oh, that's where they cut it out.
Oh, okay. That's fun. So then next we have the Gray Man and the Lady. The spirit, often referred to as the Gray Man, is believed to have been one of the Confederate soldiers who frequented the auditorium during post-war gatherings.
Oh, I didn't know this one. I know. Oh, I guess I'll let you talk. Okay. I was like, I just know that there's one in the balcony and then there's one in the basement. No, the balcony one is supposed to be Hank Williams.
Hang on.
There's a couple,
Yeah. Some say they've witnessed him sitting in the balcony while artists rehearse. He watches the stage steadily, but disappears as soon as anyone gets too close. So, like, he just watches from the balcony. So, there's that one. And then the Lady, on the other hand, isn't a spectator. She's a performer. Believed to be the ghost of Patsy Cline, she has been heard singing by staff. Usually her performance happens late at night as they prepare to close. Patsy Cline, who tragically died in a plane crash, has also been linked to the Opry curse. We talked about that already. Could the curse not only kill, but also trap artists in the venue? So, that was just a spooky conspiracy there they added.
There was always one hallway I was, like, really scared to be in by myself because there's, like, where our, like, coats and stuff are hung and, like, extra chairs and stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to, like, go and you're, like, by yourself and it's, like... And you hear all these stories all the time, and it's just like, you're always like, one time I swear I heard somebody whistling, and then somebody walked in, and I was like, it was spooky. So
that's probably Hank. Because echoing tunes of Hank Williams Sr. Speaking of Opry curse victims, Hank Williams is said to have been another casualty. The successful singer-songwriter passed away in 1953 after mixing prescription drugs with alcohol. Similar to other artists haunting the auditorium, Hank's voice has been heard clear as day by employees. They've also heard his songs being played on stage without explanation, and there are a few instances where he is seen like a white mist on the stage while he's singing.
Oh.
So that's interesting.
Okay, then maybe it was.
Mist.
Yeah. Then the soldier is, because I used to work in this section all the time, is like if you're up in the balcony, there's like this section, and then there's a door, and it's like in that door that you can and that's where I used to work all the time. So.
Yeah. Okay, so this next article is 6 of country music's spookiest tales and creepiest coincidences. I don't think I picked all 6, but many are pulled from Ghosts of Country Music, Tales of Haunted Honky-Tonks and Legendary Specters by Matthew L. Swain. So that is a book if anyone wants to read that book.
Okay.
Johnny Horton sends messages from beyond the grave. An original rockabilly pioneer and later the master of the saga song genre, Johnny Horton joined an artistic and, some would add, a paranormal partnership with his buddies, country music icon Johnny Cash and award-winning songwriter Merle Kilgore. The 3 legends of country and pop music were drawn together.
Oh, supposedly Johnny Cash has also been seen at the Ryman too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I might have Ryman related stuff, but I do have Johnny stuff.
Oh, okay.
The 3 legends of country and pop music were drawn together by both their love of music and their search for proof that a spiritual realm existed beyond the grave. When Horton died in a freak automobile accident in 1960, Cash and Kilgore said they received definitive evidence. According to one story, before Horton's funeral, Cash told Kilgore that although it was cloudy and drizzly, which matched their dark moods, a miracle would soon shine on them and everything will be as bright as day. Once the service was finished, J. Bernard Ricks, a psychic and friend of the 3 stars, showed Cash a message he received during the services. Along with several symbols that Cash believed indicated Horton was behind the message, Cash spotted a simple message, "Bright is this day," almost word for word what he said before the funeral. The Drummer is a Rummer is the title of this next one. Horton wasn't finished chatting. According to Kilgore, he and Horton worked out a cryptic message if death ever separated the 2 friends. The drummer is a rummer and he can't hold the beat. For years, Kilgore expected to receive the message that would prove his friend has crossed over, but it never surfaced. While being interviewed on a New York City radio station, a bizarre caller contacted Kilgore. She said she was part of a circle of spiritualists who, while using a Ouija board, received a message from the spirit world. The woman said the board spelled out the name Merle Kilgore. None of the ladies were country music fans, so they didn't recognize the name until the woman heard the name Kilgore mentioned on the radio. She then said they had a message for Kilgore. Right after spelling out Merle's name, the planchette swirled across the board to deliberately spell out a most cryptic message. The drummer is a rummer and he can't hold the beat. So that's
okay. I don't know who that guy is, but interesting.
Yeah, I've heard of Merle's name before. But I don't know if I've heard Horton's name, but I guess the 3 of them are friends. So the Man in Black's uninvited dinner guest. So this one's not Johnny as a ghost, but I do have him later, ghost form. But Johnny Cash considered one of the most honest artists in country music. So when he tells you his house is haunted, even a complete supernatural skeptic tends to believe him. Cash said his vacation home in Jamaica, called Cinnamon Hill, was haunted by...
Sorry. I didn't even know he had there's a lot there to unpack. I didn't know he had a Jamaican summer house.
Yep.
And it's called Cinnamon Hill.
Yes. I don't know if he named it that or if that was already the name. Was haunted by several spirits. In one encounter, Cash said a group of friends had gathered in the dining room of the home. As the 6 or so guests chatted, they noticed they were joined by a woman who wasn't exactly on the guest list. According to the singer, the woman, arrayed in a full-length white gown, appeared at one end of the room, walked across the room, and toward the closed double doors on the opposite side of the room, which she proceeded to walk straight through. Oh. It wasn't the first time or the last time that Cash and his family brushed up against the world of spirits at his vacation home, but the events didn't scare him. He said he learned to live with the ghost presence, and he sensed they respected him. So.
Well, at least they're nice.
At least it's, like, civil, because as I've mentioned before about my hesitancies to do any type of ghost-related tours and stuff, I'm like, I don't want to take anything home with me.
When I was a kid, I thought the Haunted Mansion, when they were like, oh, don't take any ghosts home with you, I legitimately thought that I was going to have a ghost follow me home. So
I finally watched the new Haunted Mansion movie.
It was kind of cute, actually.
Yeah, because I feel like people talk down about it because, like, they like the original better, and I mean, I still like the original, obviously.
That one scared me as a child.
I think this one pays better homage to the ride itself.
This one is, yeah, just like
and it's
fun,
a completely different
cute,
story.
You want the ride, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's a completely different story, and it's like, is this one Haunted Mansion? The original's The Haunted Mansion. There's literally like one has the other doesn't.
I just think that in general we need to move away from sequels and we need to start making more original content.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I don't know. I like the movie. Anyways. Okay, so now I started looking at just like famous musicians that have appeared in ghostly form. And just like kind of found a list of a bunch of them. So Buddy Holly is the first one. On February 3rd, 1959, a plane carrying Buddy Holly, Richie Valens? You don't know either? Okay. And JP the Big Bopper Richardson crashed into a cornfield near Mason City, Iowa. The 3 men and pilot died instantly. Visitors to the crash site today have reported shadowy figures in the distance and the sound of music. If you walk towards the music, the shadows disappear. Oh. So that's a little spooky place in Iowa.
Spooky.
I have Elvis, which, yeah.
In this instance, Elvis has died, people.
Yeah.
For all of you who think he is still alive.
Hang on. The ghost of Elvis is said to haunt various locations, including old RCA recording studios in Nashville. People have reported weird noises coming out of sound equipment, lights blowing out, objects being moved, and the apparition of the king himself.
I think we talked about that one in another episode.
Did we?
I want to say.
I don't remember. Okay. Room 1016 of the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood, which is where Elvis stayed when he filmed movies. Visitors and staff attribute the eerily cold temperature of the room to his spirit. And then Graceland, obviously. Oh, I need to put the picture. Show you a picture. Hang on. There's a couple photos circulating online that supposedly capture Elvis looking out the window.
Lord.
Do you see the face?
I don't like that.
Here and there.
Yeah.
I have a couple.
It doesn't look like Elvis. It just looks creepy.
It just looks creepy. People see a face and they're like, well, it's Graceland, so it has to be Elvis. Las Vegas Hilton, people have seen
Priscilla
his spirit.
Still alive? She died not too long ago.
No,
right?
Lisa did.
Oh, Lisa.
Their daughter died,
that's
but
right.
Priscilla's still alive, and she produced. I think she had a hand in the movie Priscilla.
That's right. That's so weird to me that like I think Elvis and I just think so long ago that like there's no way that any of them are still alive.
But it's literally like the 50s and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Las Vegas Hilton, people have seen his spirit in the penthouse, the basement where he hung out with his band, and the elevator he used to avoid screaming fans. I'm like, that's the fans. Okay, we do have the rhyme in. Okay. Lisa Marie Presley claimed she heard her father, Elvis, while there. After performance at the theater, she went to her dressing room, but the door was stuck and she could not get it open. Suddenly, she heard the distinct laugh of her father and the door opened. They played a little prank on her. That's nice. So we're not going to get into this all today, but this is an opening to potentially a different episode, and I'm going to see if I could get this to play over the mic, but I'm just going to play you a song. And
I know this. I've seen this before. I know. I've seen this video before.
Is that Elvis?
I don't think it is, but I also like, here's my thing with Elvis and all this, is that like, I've never been a huge Elvis, like my family didn't grow up listening to it, so like I don't have a lot of experience like listening to him, and I've heard so many other people impersonate him that I'm like, what is real and what is like the impersonated voice? And I feel like he has such a distinct voice that it's like no one actually does it. Like it's always like this like over the top dramatized version, and so it's like every impersonator does like the what you think it sounds like, but like him himself is very different. I will say he does look like him though. I don't know, it's like this guy
so his name's Bob Joyce. He popped up on my For You page not too long ago of like a video talking about how like the conspiracy theory that he is Elvis. So this is my, I guess, pitch of maybe we do
here is my
a fun little conspiracy episode digging into that.
Everyone talks about it on the Conspiracy podcasts of like, is Elvis alive or is he not? Because there's so many theories about it. My thing is at the end of the day, I get so frustrated because it's like all these celebrities and all this stuff, and it's like,
if that can't,
why can't we just accept that somebody has died? But also like,
but like if that doesn't fill a whole episode, the pitch could also just be like, we do like a conspiracy related to music podcast episode.
My
for
thing
funsies.
With the Elvis one is, how did he fake it? Like, aren't there pictures of him on the toilet?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but the TikTok was like listing all these things, and I guess this guy has said he is writing or has written a book, but it won't come out until he passes, he dies, and it will explain everything.
Yes, and I
so
heard
then
that.
People are like, so he probably is, but he's not going to say or something. But he does sound like him. And then I had one come up this morning.
You wouldn't know until somebody like that. Like if for whatever reason,
DNA test.
You wouldn't do it until he died, of course, because like the whole point is that like this person wanted to live a regular life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But also like,
I guess there's like something about he surfaced around the time. I guess there's some theory about Elvis going into witness protection, and the time that he would have been getting out of the program was when this guy surfaced.
Yes.
But the one I saw today was Elvis's dentist that like fixed some type of gap in his teeth.
Yeah.
Confirmed that he has the same teeth.
Oh.
I was like, okay, interesting. So that might be a fun thing to do in the future.
Why did he want to fake his death?
I guess
that's what the book is, if it really is. But like, also the other thing is like, how do we know that it's actually the truth?
Right. It's hard to know anything.
Also, why was Elvis potentially in witness protection either?
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying, like, I don't know that part of, like, what that relates to because I haven't heard that theory. But, yeah. I don't know. But there's also, like, I didn't do a whole deep dive for Elvis other than just, like, what was listed in this one article. But I don't know what episode it is, but Two Girls, One Ghost also have Elvis ghost stuff where like people see him in like dreams and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And like the ghost appears to fans.
Yeah.
So he's just like living it up in the afterlife of like going to visit his most devout fans or something. So
yeah. I don't know, because isn't all like that he accomplished what he wanted to do? Like, I don't know. It's just like it.
I mean, I don't know. I think because obviously, like, biopics aren't 100% accurate to real life, but I think of Elvis and how it showed him really getting pushed and pushed and pushed by what's his manager's name?
Yeah.
But like for the Vegas shows of like he was way overworked, and that's kind of what led him to doing so many drugs and stuff. And so like that kind of all contributed to his untimely death too. So maybe like if he were to have faked his death, then it's like to get away from all of that because it was getting to be too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to like, because I also know like people are like the reason like it probably became a thing in the first place is just because I think it's like hard for people to wrap their minds around somebody like that actually dying, and then like people have done weird shit in the past. It's like the government has like done shit in the past.
I mean, there's plenty of conspiracy theories with like literally everything, but like there's plenty with like JFK's assassination, things like that, where people theorize things with that too.
But I've never seen anybody like fake or celebrity wise fake their death. Do you know of anyone?
I mean, if anyone has, then they've done it successfully because it hasn't come to light.
Fair, yeah. But that's the thing is that like,
but that's also a thing
Elvis
with like Amelia Earhart too. If you go outside of music, like people are like, there's a couple people where they're like older women that would be around her age where they're like, oh, she didn't actually disappear, she made her way back somehow and is living a quiet life and stuff. So
I don't know, I think people put a lot of stock into it, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, it might just be like a fun little idea of doing music related conspiracies as like a different episode, if we need something this month or just in the future. We don't have to do it during spooky season, but I think conspiracies kind of lend itself to like a Halloween-esque thing too. Next I have Whitney Houston. The bond between child and parent can sometimes be complicated but not broken by death. Whitney Houston passed away when her daughter Bobby Christina was only 19. In an interview with Oprah, Bobby Christina said, "Throughout the house, lights turn on and off, and I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? I can still laugh with her and still talk to her. I can hear her voice telling me to keep moving, baby. I've got you. I can always feel her with me." So that's like a nice little
Liza Minnelli
heartwarming thing.
Like Judy Garland used to like tug on her earrings and stuff when she like said stuff in interviews, or like maybe that was Judy Garland. One of them like said that like their mom used to like in interviews, like if they said the wrong thing or was wearing like stuff that they didn't like, they'd like pull on her earring. I think let me make sure that's.
We love heartwarming ghosts. We don't necessarily want the demons and stuff, because that's what I'm afraid of if I go into a haunted, like a legit haunted house, not like a fun house haunted house. But yeah. Okay, so this one is not like long, but probably one of the longer ones out of these ones, of John Lennon. He has been seen around the Dakota in Manhattan, his home, and the site of his death in 1980.
When you said John Lennon, I legitimately thought I heard John Legend, and I was like, he's still alive. I was like, oh, the Beatle.
The Beatle, yes. 3 years after his death, Joey Harrow, who's a musician, and Amanda Moores, who is a writer, spotted Lennon near the location he was shot. He was surrounded by an eerie light. They were going to approach him, but the look on his face seemed to say, "Don't come near me." Yoko Ono also reported seeing Lennon sitting at a white piano at the Dakota. He said to her, "Don't be afraid, I'm still with you." Side note, before his death, John Lennon reported seeing a crying lady roaming the halls of the Dakota, because the Dakota has its own, like, haunted history, so it's already a haunted place before he started haunting it. Another number of encounters happened with his old bandmates. In 1995, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney were in the studio recording "Free as a Bird." McCartney commented that he felt Lennon's presence in the room. There were a lot of strange going-ons in the studio, noises that shouldn't have been, and equipment doing all manner of weird things. Later, during a photo shoot for the album, a white peacock appeared from a neighboring yard. McCartney felt this was the spirit of John Lennon coming to hang out and complete the album. He may have even made his presence known on the album itself. According to McCartney, "We put one of those spoof backwards recordings on the end of the single for a laugh, to give all those Beatles nuts something to do. Then we were listening to the finished single in the studio one night, and it gets to the end and it goes," and I have no idea how to like actually verbalize these words. It's basically gibberish, John Lennon gibberish, I swear to God. We were like, "It's John, he likes it." And I think I've found the clip, so we're gonna try and get it on here. The little part at the end was just, it's an interview, so Paul started talking again. But do you hear, it says John Lennon. So they think that's him confirming that he likes the music. So spooky. The next one is Jim Morrison. In 1997, rock historian Brett Meisner took a photo in front of Jim Morrison's grave at Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. It was not until 2002 that he noticed a figure standing behind him. Jim Morrison? The ghost photo has been deemed unexplainable by researchers. What do you think?
Oh. I don't like that.
I'm gonna have to like give you those photos and see if you can like put it in the YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can. That's not.
Meisner says he regrets visiting the cemetery because things have been weird ever since. After the picture was taken, his marriage fell apart and his friend died of an overdose.
Oh my gosh.
He has also been approached by people who claim to be haunted by Morrison. At first, it was sort of interesting to see how many people felt a spiritual bond with Jim in the photo, but now the whole vibe seems negative.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's sad. Why you gotta be a negative ghost?
Yeah. When they said like, oh, it got interesting, I thought it was gonna be something funny. Like, no.
No. Graham Parsons. The story of Graham Parsons' death and burial is already pretty legendary. Parsons, the Flying Burrito Brothers, overdosed while staying at Joshua Tree Inn in the California desert. His family wanted his body returned to Louisiana, but his manager and best friend, Phil Kaufman, knew otherwise. Kaufman said Parsons wanted his body burned on a funeral pyre in Joshua Tree. Kaufman and company stole Parsons' body from LAX and performed the ritual he wanted. They were arrested, but fined only $750. Parsons supposedly haunts room 8 at Joshua Tree Inn, which is available for a spooky stay. Okay, and then this last one is Sid Vicious. So the historic Hotel Chelsea in New York has been a temporary home for many creative thinkers, artists, musicians, writers, designers since being built in the 1880s. And then it lists some. So Tennessee Williams, Mark Twain, Andy Warhol, Janis Joplin, Leonard Cohen, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, and many more. There have been several notable deaths in this location too. Poet Dylan Thomas in room 206 in 1953. And if you were a Swiftie, that sounds familiar because the Tortured Poets Department song mentions Dylan Thomas and the Chelsea Hotel. Writer Charles R. Jackson in 1968 and Nancy Spungen in room 100 in 1978. Nancy was a figure of the 1970s punk rock scene and the girlfriend of Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious. The relationship was full of excessive drug use and domestic abuse, so when she was found stabbed to death at the Chelsea, many believed Sid killed Nancy. He was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, but died of an overdose while out on bail. Sid and Nancy are both said to haunt the Chelsea. In particular, people have seen Sid in the elevator.
Okay, then.
So... yeah. I guess I feel like I can't remember if, again, all my references for like ghost things is Two Girls, One Ghost. I'm like trying to think if they've talked about the hotel before, because they've talked about other hotels. I'm trying to think if they talked about Chelsea Hotel before, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, apparently.
A lot of people around and died there, so yeah. But that's all I had. We got through like whole 8 pages of stuff because I thought that was going to be a lot, but I'm like, I'm going to talk semi-fast to get through it all. But yeah, that's all our spooky stories for you guys.
Happy October.
Happy October. Happy spooky season. If you have fun ghost stories related to music.
If you've seen a ghost while you've been performing, contact us.
Contact us. Share your story to themusiclenspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on socials at The Music Lens Podcast. You can follow Alex at Alex Laker Music.
Wait, hold on. Can you do that one again?
Just started with you?
Yeah.
Okay. You can follow Alex at Alex Laker Music on all the things, and you can follow myself at Katie F Music on all the things. So hope you enjoyed this fun little spooky time thing. I think we kind of you talk a lot about why we started this podcast, and I feel like we do want to be able to provide information and like help artists learn things about the industry and stuff, but we also want to just have a fun time with music related stuff sometimes. So this was one of those episodes. So Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.